Find all the shirts that you never wore before.
Okay. Yes, I have a shirt problem. Say and spell your name, please.
Linda Tedeschs, Tedeschchi.
Okay, and what area or part of Sanibel do you live in?
On the Gulf, on West Gulf Drive,
Okay.
in a condo,
All right.
right on the beachfront.
What did you experience during Ian?
Well, I didn't experience a whole lot because I had hurricane shutters on the outside sliders, so I couldn't see anything. And I had hurricane shutters on my outside windows. I spent most of the time in my den after the power went off because that window didn't have a hurricane shutter, so I could actually get some daylight. And I sat there reading and using my phone till the electricity went off. And from that window looks out onto a courtyard in the building, and so there's some palm trees in that courtyard. So I could see the palm trees swaying back and forth, but that's about all I could see.
Yeah.
I couldn't see a storm surge. I couldn't see any of that until shortly, I think it was towards the end of the hurricane, that the storm shutter in the master bedroom flew off, and I heard the noise, and then I could see. And I could see, I couldn't tell how high the storm surge was because I was up on the 3rd floor, but I could see the roof of the hurricane house the building next door had come off. I could see that the condo beyond that, Royal Turn, I think it is, had the side of its roof come off. I could see there was a lot more sand in the dunes area, and the plants were a lot more sparse than they ever were.
Yes.
And I could see from 3 floors up water in the driveway, but I had no idea how high it was.
Yeah. Did you have any, were you alone or have any pets? Or?
No, I was alone.
When did you leave your sanctuary to find other people?
The first day after the hurricane, I stayed on the 3rd floor. Somebody one of my neighbors just before the power went out, texted me his key code to his condo. So I went into his condo and mopped up water using his towels. And from the 3rd floor, I could see all these cars in front of the building. I didn't recognize mine because it had a black front because the fender in the front had come off, I guess, because they all, were bounced around. I think it was the day after that, Friday, when I finally went downstairs, and there was still some water around, and muck, so it was pretty hazardous to walk around. And then I could see that there were no cars left in the garage, and that all of them were out front.
How did you manage your supplies?
I had plenty of water. I had actually filled up all my containers and stored them in the shower and the bathtub, and I had plenty of water in my refrigerator. I had a lot of bottles of water. Glass bottles that I had filled up with water. I even had I think it's an iced tea dispenser that I positioned on the sink to be able to wash my hands or wash off dishes. So I was doing pretty well. I had plenty of food, plenty of water. I could flush my toilet with the water in the shower every once in a while.
Okay. When did you realize the magnitude of Ian?
I really didn't until, well, I started to when I could see the damage to the buildings next door. Now those were all those are wooden buildings. And I had always felt safe in the building I was in because it was concrete. And I felt like it was built like a fortress on an unconscious level. I realized I was comfortable there because it was built like a fortress. The stairwell was fine, I knew that. I mean, there was some debris and material and stuff on the bottom floor, but I was fine walking around that. I found some shovels and some other things to kind of prop myself up as I walked around.
Slippery, wasn't it?
It was very slippery, and it was very good to, like have a shovel to lean on. It's like a crutch, because I don't have any crutches, and that was very useful.
Did your bicycle make it?
Actually, I had two bicycles that were attached to the pillar with a bike lock, and both of them made it. One was kind of twisted, and the chain was off of the, what do you call it?
Sprocket.
The sprocket, okay. And so the first time I went downstairs, I was actually looking for a bicycle that I could ride. I was thinking that eventually the water would go down. And there's always water in the front of the building, when it rains, because West Gulf Drive is higher than any of the buildings, so the water comes right down. And I was planning on finding a bicycle and bicycling over to the fire department or the police station or something, in the hopes really that they had cell phone, or that you could recharge your cell phone and tell you what was going on. It was probably not till the weekend that I saw other people on West Gulf Drive while I was out in front of the building, looking at the bicycles. It turned out all the bicycles in the front of the building were a disaster. And the best bicycle was mine that had gotten twisted around. I untwisted it, and I brought a screwdriver down from upstairs and somehow got the chain on the sprocket. It just went right on. But I never did get to ride it because the police came and told me, at first they told me I could stay, and then they came and told me I had to leave.
How did you leave the island?
I got picked up by a policeman in like I think it was a sea turtle Jeep that they got from the sea turtle program, and they took me to the city marina, where I boarded a boat that I think was a dolphin tour boat from Fort Myers Beach, and it was a very pleasant boat ride over to Fort Myers at Port Comfort. Then the problems began, because at Port Comfort they wouldn't let you charge your phone, and they had no cell phone coverage, for us at least. And basically your only alternative was to take a bus to the shelter, Hertz Arena. And then I started charging my phone and calling people.
Did you have a lot of messages?
Yeah, I did. It took weeks to clear all the messages, because when you don't use your cell phone for a week or so, a lot piles up, and people who you don't respond to then text you again or email you again. I kept trying to send emails to people telling them I was fine, but nothing was going out, because there was no cell phone coverage. And I really didn't realize how bad it was, because I was in my own little world with plenty of food and comfortable. And as soon as the hurricane was over, I could open up the storm shutters, and I had plenty of light from the sun, during the daytime. And I would go to sleep as soon as the sun set, and wake up before the sun rose. But I'd go out on my lanai and, see the stars and sing songs and wait till the sun rose.
Any words of wisdom?
Any words of wisdom? I was actually very happy staying. I thought it was a real experience. Before the police made me leave, I actually walked on the beach, and I thank God that for my 10 years here that were delightful, wonderful. At that point, I didn't know what was going to happen to Sanibel, whether we were going to ever come back, because the police had told me that the causeway was down, and they had said that it would take 2 years for it to be built back up. I guess DeSantis hadn't talked to them yet. So I think if you're going to stay, you need to prepare and really, really appreciate how strong the building you're in is, or assess that properly. I think, I don't know. It was more, you take life as it is. You don't know what's going to happen. We didn't know how strong the hurricane was going to be. I didn't have a choice about leaving because I had been in a crazy bicycling accident earlier that month, and my knee hurt because I landed on my knee, and I didn't think I could carry stuff down 3 flights of stairs because the building is run by people who are absentee owners, and they shut down the elevator without really telling us before. At first it wasn't going to hit Sanibel, it was going to go up further north. So finally, when we realized it was going to hit Sanibel, by that time the elevator was shut down. So I thought I should stay. I took it as a sign that I should stay.
Okay.
So,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.